All right, Council, I believe that we are ready to proceed.
All right, let the record reflect this session of the court is taking place on July 22nd at 11 o'clock. It's being held remotely because of the closure of the courthouse at 75 Court Street in Reno, Washoe County, Nevada, due to the national and local emergency caused by COVID-19. The court and all of the participants are appearing through simultaneous audio-visual transmission. I am physically located in Reno, Washoe County, Nevada, which is the site of today's court session. The other court personnel who are present will identify themselves for the record and note what county and state they are appearing from. I'll start with my clerk.
Linda Sabo, Court Clerk from Washoe County, Nevada.
My court reporter.
Debbie Cecere, Washoe County, Nevada.
Thank you. Further, the record should reflect that this session and all the hearings today are open to the public for viewing and listening to the proceedings through the video audio link found on the Washoe Court's website. If at any time anyone who's appearing in their case cannot see or hear all of the other participants in their case while it is going on, please notify the court. I want to additionally request of the attorneys and other participants, other than those who've already made their appearances, to state their physical location as well as their name when they make their first appearance to participate in these proceedings. Counsels, I call on you, please acknowledge that you've received notice that this hearing is taking place pursuant to Nevada Supreme Court Rule Part 9 relating to simultaneous audiovisual transmissions in criminal proceedings and the Second Judicial District Court administrative orders entered in 2020. Also tell me if you have any objection going forward in this manner today. I'll call this case on the calendar. It is CR 19-1821A and CR 19-1821B, State versus Michael Schneider, State versus Leilani Schneider. Appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Chris Day on behalf of the state. I'm appearing from Reno, Washoe County, Nevada. I have received the required notices. I have no objection to proceeding.
Thank you. Mr. Houston.
Thank you, Your Honor. David Houston, located in Reno, Washoe County, Nevada. We are familiar with the respective orders discussed by the court. We have no objection to proceeding in this fashion. And I am present as well as Mr. Lyon. Both Michael and Leilani Schneider are also present in my office, seated off to my right. And I'm representing Leilani Schneider specifically.
Thank you very much. May I see the Schneiders, please? Can you turn the camera so I can see their presence? All right, I'm going to have them stand there observing social distancing, Mr. Houston, please, but I want them to be present and I want to be able to see them throughout these proceedings. Thank you very much. All right, this is the time set for a status conference. Prior counsel in this matter had unsuccessfully filed a writ of habeas corpus to the Supreme Court. It was denied, and now we're back to where we should be proceeding for court with this case, actually. As a consequence of that, Mr. Houston and Mr. Lyon have respectfully substituted in place as prior counsel. Welcome. And I'm interested to know what our status of the case in that it should be set for a new trial date. Is that right, Mr. Day?
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to set this so we could set a new trial date. I know that court is probably reticent to do that given the current situation, but at the very least, I would like to set maybe a new motion hearing and maybe a motion deadline. There were a number of motions that were filed prior to the Supreme Court writ, including another motion to dismiss that was filed by Mr. Cornell and Mr. King. I did respond to that, and that has not been submitted or fully briefed to this court. Additionally, there were some other motions in limine and so forth, and I don't know if new counsel is joining in on those motions or would like to file their own motions. And so I think at the very least, we should set new motion deadlines and motion hearing, but I would also love to set a court or trial date if that's possible.
Sure. All right. I would share with, thank you for that, Mr. Day. Mr. Houston and Mr. Lyon, obviously, for lack of a better way to say it, you're the new team on the case. And I certainly wouldn't, for a moment, with your trial strategy and tactic, presuppose that you're going to be adopting prior counsel's motions. Please let me know if that's the case and what your plans are. At least let's start with motion practice before I start with setting a date for trial. What's your pleasure, Mr. Houston? I'll start with you since you're closest to the screen.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the way that we see it is this. I do agree that certain motions have been filed, some of which have not been responded to, but certainly are pending. Mr. Lyon and I would like the opportunity to thoroughly review those motions. We may choose to abandon them or join in them with additional amended information. The same would be true for any motions that we might wish to file. I know we don't want to simply leave that in limbo, so I would suggest to the court, if the court is willing, to give us a 60-day time limit to either accept, abandon, or addend the motions currently filed, as well as file our own, which would give us, I believe, sufficient time to adequately grasp the facts and make that determination. So if we had, for instance, 60 days from today to file all of our motions, and then of course the court can provide the necessary time as it concerns the state for response, with our ability at that point, if necessary, to file additional pleading, and then we would set the matter for argument.
What do you think, Mr. Day?
I don't really have a problem with that. I think there's a lot of paperwork here, and some of the issues are maybe not complex, but they're novel. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that deadline.
All right, so let's do this. Mr. Lyon, I assume you're joining in that request?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All right. Number one, I'm granting your request, Mr. Houston, for a new 60-day date for your motions to be filed to Mr. Day. Mr. Day, I'm interested in giving you some time to respond when you see whether there's new motions, addendum to current motions, or motions have been abandoned. I'm interested in giving you about 30 days for that. Would that give you good time, Mr. Day?
That should be fine.
Great. And I'm not interested in extensive replies, Mr. Houston or Mr. Lyon. I'll give you 10 days thereafter to reply. And so with that schedule, Ms. Clerk, I would like you to identify a new motions hearing date. So just to recap, 60 days for motions, 30 days for response, 10 days to reply. Then I want to hear they'll be all submitted for my decision, and I want to have a hearing date thereafter.
Yes, Your Honor, that will take us to the beginning of November. And I'm looking at Tuesday, November 10th at 10 a.m. if counsel is available.
Does that work for you, Mr. Day?
Or the afternoon is available also.
I'm available all day November 2nd, so that works for me.
All right.
November 10th.
I'm sorry.
November.
Otherwise,
Double check that, Mr. Day. November 10th.
I am also free all day November 10th.
So now we know you're available November 2nd. But Mr. Houston, does that work for you, please?
Well, Your Honor, the issue is we're just consulting a calendar. We actually did have a jury trial date set for November 2nd that we thought would go beyond the first week. I don't know what the status of that jury trial would be at this point.
Is that in this department?
No, it is not, Your Honor. I believe it is in D7.
Well, I'm about to issue an order as the Chief Judge of Washoe County, which is going to be continuing everything to a look-see to the first week in November based upon the coronavirus. So I'm very confident that trial date will be vacated.
All right.
Although I'm not the judge for the record in Department 7, he will adhere to my order that I'm issuing for the entire court based upon the coronavirus, continuing out jury trials, out of custody criminal matters, taking another look the first week in November to see how we're doing with the virus, but it's a series of continuances. So that's not going to go. So that being said, are you clear?
That would be then clearing us completely for November 10th at 10 a.m. You know?
Very good. That'll be the date for the hearing in this matter. I'd like to grant Mr. Day's request for a trial date. And so I'm optimistic that we're going to be doing trials next year. So I'm going to give you a date to shoot for I'm looking around March or April, Ms. Clerk. I know we've been setting some jury trials in the beginning of the year in the hopes that we'll get back to normal, whatever normal will look like in this pandemic with the attempt at jury trials in this atmosphere. But I want to keep it on calendar, and Mr. Day, you're very appropriate to make that request.
Your Honor, we could set this for April 5th at 10 a.m.
Very good. Does that work for you, Mr. Day?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Mr. Houston?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Mr. Lyon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. You want to give me a most to confirm date, Ms. Clerk? Probably, I'm going to say the beginning of March. So we have an idea whether this is going to go or not.
Yes, Your Honor, we could schedule that for March 10th at 1:30.
Is that available, Mr. Day,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston,
Yes, Your Honor.
and Mr. Lyon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. All right, motion confirmed. So we've got those things covered. Anything else from a status conference, Mr. Day, that you need me to deal with?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Houston
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
and Mr. Lyon.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, your client's current custody status will remain in full force and effect, and I'll look forward to getting your motions and submitted, and I'll see you at the motions date. It's be our next date in this case. Anything further, Mr. Day?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Houston
Nothing. Thank you, Your Honor.
and Mr. Lyon?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll be in recess. Thank you all.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.